Hugh Haskell from the Institute of Energy and Environmental Research. Given the immense costs as well as the political and other problems involved in this vast increase of nuclear power, I'm wondering how much investigation has been given to exploiting alternative sources, including perhaps efficiency in order to reduce the growth in electrical demand, and other sources such as perhaps wave power or the other traditional ones. Also, given the seismic issues with nuclear power, Korea, I'm not absolutely certain about Korea's seismic situation, but it certainly isn't much better than Japan's, and they're having pretty big problems.
Yeah, I don't have any exact figure for the investment to the other renewable development, but I am sure here that we are investing several times more money to the development of renewable energies than nuclear. So we are doing every effort to enhance energy self-reliance by developing renewable energies and nuclear. And as for the earthquake, I'm sure that next generation nuclear power plant wouldn't have any problem for the earthquake, because the next generation nuclear reactor shall be designed not to resist to the earthquake, but to it's something like a seismic design. So it's something like floating design, which doesn't affect by any kinds of earthquake. So with that design concept, I'm sure that we can solve that issue.
Yes, so here in the front, we'll do first, Mark.
Well, I realize this is outside of your primary area of study, but I imagine you must be very interested in the work on fusion power, and specifically the National Ignition Facility, which it seems to have the nearer-term possibility for defining a potentially commercially viable fusion capability. At the AAAS annual meeting just in February, speakers from that facility said that they expect to determine pretty much once and for all whether the laser fusion process, as opposed to the tokamak, is a viable technology. If it is, then they project that it may be, with some optimism, possible to bring a demonstration power plant to fruition by 2025. If that were feasible, would that kind of time frame in any way ameliorate your spent nuclear fuel disposal problem?
That's a good question. I'd love to see that realization of this, fusion program in the near future. You would know that Korea is one of the members for the ITER program. We are working hard on the development of this, fusion technology. But I understand that most of the scientists have a skepticism on the near-term employment of that nuclear fusion technology. They are expecting, somewhere in the later part of, this century.
That's the tokamak technology, which will be much later coming on. ITER is tokamak. I'm talking specifically about the laser fusion issue, like the National Ignition Facility.
I understand that China is developing that technology, but unfortunately, I don't have any detailed information for that technology. But Anyway, let's see. I'll drop to see that realization. Anyway.
Okay, I have three in the ones. We have our madam in the back, and then gentleman in the third row, and then Mr. Harrison up here in the front.
Hi, thank you for the wonderful presentation. My name is Samantha Chung. I'm the president of the Washington General Trade International. And my question to you is, maybe I'm looking too much in advance, but I would like to know your take on the privatizing or commercial sectors, your support in research and development, pyroprocessing in the future, or especially in Korea. I'm from Korea, but is it going to be mainly government operated, government subsidized, some kind of special organization that will be running these initiatives and making any kind of plans and possible products and all that transfer? Is there any potential that this can be privatized to a certain extent? Thank you.
R&D in South Korea?
Currently, it's in the early stage of research and development. It's now just at the laboratory scale experiments. So it's being supported by the government through the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. But when time comes for the construction of some types of demonstration facility, I think Korean industry will be involved, I think. So it's too early to mention about when who will be involved in this project. Now it's just on the R&D stage.
I would also, I don't know anything about Korean organization and the mix of private and public sector, but given the sensitivity of the technology, I would think this is what the government would want to hold this technology fairly closely, and it would certainly not want it to be transferring it to a lot of other countries.
The fourth row back, yes.
I'm David Saltio, currently with the Department of Energy. I skimmed your paper while you were talking, and two things stood out that seemed to sort of hint at some things that didn't come out in your discussion, and I wondered if you might want to comment on it. The first, and I think these two things are linked, the first is this note in here that says, to win U.S. support for nuclear cooperation agreements, South Korea might need to take on some additional non-proliferation commitments. And then the last sentence that says, creative solutions are needed to address Seoul's challenges. What are some of those additional responsibilities you might be thinking about? What are some of these creative solutions? Is this possibly something we could think about in terms of multinational fuel cycle arrangements? Are there international cooperation possibilities here that would reduce concern and solve other problems simultaneously? I mean, you seem to have given some thought to what these ideas are, and it'd kind of be interesting to hear what they are beyond what you said in your paper here.
I'll answer that because those are probably more. That was part of the paper that I did more of the writing on. Additional responsibilities. I mean, I think. I would personally say, as much as pyroprocessing may be appealing to Korea, the United States made a choice in the 1970s not to engage in reprocessing because of the example that we wanted to set for other countries around the world. The more that Korea becomes an exporter, it's got to think not only about what happens on the Korean Peninsula, but also what model is it setting for, particularly for developing countries. One of those could be not doing pyroprocessing altogether, or it could be a multilateral facility, a multinational facility. But I think they can't think in isolation about how it's doing things anymore. About this is our spent fuel problem, and this doesn't relate to the global issues. The United States has always had to have both those two hats on. And I'm being a little vague partly because I'm working on a paper right now on the issues that are trying to work through these issues at the same time. For instance, it could pledging to make the additional protocol condition of supply as part of its nuclear trade there's a number of ways it could deal with that. The other terms, in terms of creative solutions, I mean, one thing I would point out is, as Sang-Wan was kind of laying out the timetable, the idea that you have to make a decision today on whether or not you do pyroprocessing and you build a facility in South Korea doesn't really, it doesn't have to be done today. There's ways that you can put off the decision until you have more